Do you think simply asking for something is begging? There's a lot of controversy in the beef sector about begging. And Pastor Nate gonna give his perspective. Stay tuned. God bless you, friends. Thank you for joining me on this Friday morning on Morning Nuggets. This is yours truly, Pastor Nate. And as always, it is my absolute pleasure every time I come and speak with you. Friend, this is a new month, the month of December, the last month of the year. And I want to acknowledge all of you who were born in December. I want to extend to you a happy birthday and many, many more. Begging. There's a lot of talk out there in the sector about begging. What's begging? What's not begging? When you can just simply look it up. Friend, to beg is to ask someone earnestly or humbly for something. Typically food, money, or a charitable gift. That's begging in a nutshell. So even if you ask for something, according to the definition, that's still begging. I was raised in an old school era where they taught us to go out and work for everything. Y'all remember when you were small, of course, if you're in my age group, when you went over somebody's house, your mom or your grandma say, don't ask for nothing. If they ask you, say no, ma'am, right? That's how I was taught. I was taught those strong values and work ethic. And I was taught to work for everything. My apostle asked me sometime, Pastor Nate, do you need something? And I'm always telling him no. And he said, if you did, you probably wouldn't tell me, huh? He knows me. Will there ever be a time where I may need something? Sure. But I don't want to abuse my privilege. And a lot of people abuse their begging card. They've already exhausted, especially when you're around generous people. And people often say, hey, whenever you need something, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here for you. And some of you will abuse that offer. But no. I want to reserve that because when I really, really need it, then I can use it. There's a scripture in Psalms 37 and 25. It says, I was young and now I am old. Hear me, friend. God have mercy. I've never seen the righteous forsaken. God have mercy. Nor his seed beg for bread. That simply means God has provided every need. And friend, I'm here to tell you right now, God is a provider. He gives me the strength to go out and work. He gives me the strength to go out and get what I need. And where there is lack, he always makes provision. And when you trust God, begging is at an all-time low. Yeah, it minimizes the begging. Every now and then you may get in the mind where you have to ask for something. But friend, the problem I have there is eventually you should change your situation. You're begging for this. 2 or 3 years later, you still shouldn't be begging for the same thing. You should take measures to change your situation so you can do better. There's a lot of controversy in the beef sector. Some people say, no, if I simply ask, that's not begging. Some people call it dry begging. When you come on here and you say what you need, but you don't directly ask the people. But you know, if you say, hey, my gosh, my car is broke down, but you know what, something gonna work out. I need $500, but you know what, I'll figure it out. You know, if you say that, that's gonna pull the heartstring of the people, because you know we are a community who will give and we're moved by compassion. If you're getting value from this video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Pastor Nate would be glad to have you part of the smart. So go ahead and smash it right now. It's going to bless you real good, I promise you. There are a couple YouTubers or content creators in the beef sector who have shared their perspective on the subject of begging. And I want you to hear what they have to say. First one I want to present is the babe or fyebabe. She comes preaching. She lays down that hammer. You hear me? And she lets the pastor know what it is. Take a listen.
You have not, because you're not asking God for it. That's why you got to keep coming on YouTube begging.
Yes. The babe said, hey, If you go to God and ask him, you don't have to come on YouTube asking nobody for nothing. Then we have Mr. James. He says, it's begging. He asked T, I believe. I believe that's the young lady's name. She asked for a ham, and James said, that's begging. Take a listen.
You asked the people to sponsor you a ham?
My supporters.
That was begging. I walked off of that job because it just is something that's ingrained in me. I don't beg. I'm not a beggar. And telemarketing for me feels like begging.
James say, if you ask your supporters, that's begging. That goes back to the definition, right? Even if you ask, that's considered begging. So asking is a form of begging. And James also said, I quit my job. The second day I walked off because I didn't want to beg. That telemarketer was simply begging. And friend, I'm like that too. Don't give me no job with sales or telemarketing because I don't like to ask people for nothing. I'm very uncomfortable. I can't do it. I would not do it. No, no, no. That's not the job for me. That's not my ministry. Ask him. So James, I'm with you on that. I know somebody's got to do it, but God has not anointed me for that. Then we have Timothy Blaine. He comes on and he gives his perspective. Take a listen.
I don't like people being abused, taken advantage of, right? And that he doesn't, as soon as he gets that money, he has no respect. He would say, I don't need the money. I don't need the money, and go right back to begging a whole new campaign.
He says he doesn't want the people abused. He say, pastor gets on there and asks. Then he says, I didn't need your money. Well, let me tell you something. I don't think that's abuse because the people chose to give. No one put a gun to your head and said you had to give. They're the ones who hit that cash out. So that's on them. Now, Jay Wilson says that's not begging. And he gives his definition of begging. Take a listen.
I don't beg though. The whole thing is I don't beg. Begging is like, ooh, y'all, I need something so bad.
Now, y'all, 2019, I went to Labor Day, and I must say, I would be remiss if I didn't say this here. Jay Wilson said that's his persona on YouTube, and it may seem like he begs. It may seem like, although he said he doesn't. But let me tell you, when I went to that man's house, that man treated me well. He bought every meal, and y'all know Pastor Nate ain't gonna lie. I got there, I was gonna pay for my meal, and he said, don't do it. I got it. That was the barbecue place. And that night we went to the seafood place. He bought that too. And then that Sunday, he catered food in. So I walked away with money. He showed me great hospitality. And I can just speak based on my experience with the pastor. Let me know what you think about each of these scenarios. Let me know what you think about begging, whether you agree or disagree. Leave your comments in the comments section. In the meantime, in between time, be at peace and not in pieces.